striking. A small town in Northern Ireland just forced the British government to its knees. And what happened in the last 7 days will change the UK forever. February 14th, Ballymena, population 30,000. A 16-year-old girl is attacked outside a local shopping centre. 2 asylum seekers are arrested at the scene. Within 48 hours, the entire town is on fire. But here's what the national media isn't showing you. While Ballymena burned, while police lines collapsed under brick and bottle, Prime Minister Keir Starmer signed a confidential order. The directive transfer 3,200 more asylum seekers into Northern Ireland before Christmas. No additional security funding, no emergency police support, no consultation with local councils, just a single line from Westminster to Belfast. London decides you implement. If you want the truth about what's really happening in Britain right now, hit subscribe, because this story goes deeper than any mainstream outlet will admit. The numbers tell part of the story. Local councils in Northern Ireland are now fully responsible for asylum accommodation costs. In Ballymena alone, that's £2.4 million per month. Hotel bills, security, overtime, emergency services stretch past breaking point. And the money, it's not coming from London. It's coming from local budgets meant for schools, roads and hospitals. When questioned in Parliament, a Home Office minister gave a response that would echo through every street in the north. The directive has been signed. Your role is implementation, not debate. That was the moment Northern Ireland understood this wasn't representation anymore. This was rule by decree. By nightfall on February 15th, Belfast explodes. Not just protests, full rebellion. Portarone erupts an hour later. Then Derry, then Newry, then 5 more towns. In one night, 5 cities go under emergency curfew. Over 300 arrests, 41 police officers injured, property damage tops £8 million. Footage spreads online faster than police can contain it. Burned out cars, smashed storefronts, hotels housing asylum seekers surrounded by crowds, water cannons deployed for the first time in a decade. And through it all, one chant rises above the chaos. Send them back, take our country back. But here's where the story takes a turn that should alarm every person watching. The British government's response wasn't to address the crisis. It wasn't to send emergency funding or open dialogue with community leaders. It was to silence the story completely. At 2:17 a.m. on February 16th, a classified document appears online. The header reads, Operation Northlight status active. Authorisation, Office of the Prime Minister. Inside this document are directives that sound like something from a different country entirely. Journalist watch lists, names of reporters covering Northern Ireland, flagged for monitoring, social media content targeted for mass take-own, orders for warrantless arrests under the classification public safety risk. And perhaps most chilling, restricted media travel permits for anyone attempting to report north of the border. The Home Office immediately calls it fake news, disinformation designed to inflame tensions. Then the metadata drops. A communications officer in Belfast, someone with access to internal government systems, releases the digital fingerprint of the document, timestamps, user IDs, server logs. Operation Northlight is real and it was authorised at the highest level. Her statement is 8 words long. If the truth burns, let it burn everywhere. Within 3 hours, Operation Northlight is trending worldwide, not just in Britain, Germany, France, United States, Australia, and the British government's response confirms everything. BBC broadcasters suddenly cut mid-segment. Anchors literally vanish from screens. Police raid newsrooms in Belfast and Derry, seizing equipment without warrants. One independent journalist live streams his own arrest. The footage shows officers refusing to provide grounds for detention. The video hits 12 million views before the platform removes it. Every deletion, every raid, every silence, it all confirms the same thing. The government isn't fighting fake news. They're fighting exposure. But here's what makes this different from every other political crisis you've seen. The people don't fight back with more violence. They do something the government never prepared for. They go silent. February 17th, 10:45 a.m. Teachers across Northern Ireland walk out of classrooms, not striking, just stopping. They stand in schoolyards holding blank white signs, nothing written on them, but everyone knows exactly what they mean. By noon, veterans begin gathering at war memorials. They wear their uniforms, they wear their medals, but the medals are turned upside down. Symbols of loyalty, now symbols of betrayal. At 1 p.m, BBC staff in Belfast walk off set during a live broadcast. Not dramatically, no announcements. They simply remove their microphones and leave. The camera keeps rolling on an empty studio. Within hours, over 1 million households in Northern Ireland turn off their TVs in coordinated protest. Social media fills with black screens captioned with single words: enough, truth, resign. No riots, no property damage, just refusal. And it's spreading. Glasgow joins the blackout, then Leeds, then Manchester. Workers in London Underground stations begin wearing blank white ribbons on their uniforms. The silence becomes louder than any protest could ever be. Then at exactly noon on February 18th, something happens that breaks through every media blackout, every content filter, every government attempt at control. A police officer in full riot gear stands in front of a crowd of thousands in Belfast. Rain is pouring. The crowd is completely silent. He reaches up, removes his helmet and sets it on the ground. Then he turns to face the crowd and says 6 words that will define this entire moment. We serve the people, not protocol. Behind him, 3 more officers remove their helmets, then 10, then 50. The video is uploaded from 20 different phones simultaneously. Platforms remove it. It's re-uploaded from 200 phones. Remove it again, 2,000 phones. By the end of the day, that single moment has been viewed 48 million times. After re-uploads and shares, the number tops 300 million views. The British government has lost control of the narrative, and more importantly, they've lost the trust of the people sworn to enforce their orders. February 19th, financial markets open and Britain watches its economy collapse in real time. £6 billion erased in a single trading day. The pound sterling hits its lowest point in a decade. International investors begin pulling out of UK assets. Foreign embassies start evacuating non-essential staff, not because of violence in the streets, because of instability in the government. At 5:42 p.m, the Home Secretary resigns. No statement, just a one-line letter. I can no longer, in good conscience, execute the duties of this office. At 6:03 p.m, the Defence Secretary follows, then the Education Secretary at 6:31 p.m. Parliament is collapsing from within. Prime Minister Keir Starmer appears on camera that evening. He looks pale, cornered. His voice trembles as he speaks. He calls the leaks foreign interference designed to destabilise British democracy, but Britain has already identified who destabilised their democracy. And it wasn't a foreign power. February 20th, 500,000 people walk to Belfast, not march, walk. They come from every county in Northern Ireland, from Scotland, from Wales, from England. Veterans, teachers, nurses, farmers, priests, miners, mothers carrying children on their shoulders. No banners, no chants, just flags folded in half. The Union Jack carried upside down. Not in disrespect, in distress. Police don't stop them. Some join the walk. Traffic stops. No, drivers get out of their cars and walk with them. By noon, 500,000 people fill the streets of Belfast in pouring rain. No one moves. No one speaks. A single speaker plays the national anthem. When the line comes, send her victorious, the entire crowd sings it, but it doesn't sound like worship. It sounds like a warning. Cameras pan across faces, young and old, every background, every belief, united not by politics, but by one simple demand: accountability. February 21st, Parliament meets behind armed gates for the first time since World War II. Half the benches are empty. MPs who show up are met with silence outside. Not anger, not shouting, just hundreds of thousands of people standing in the rain waiting. At 9:27 p.m, the motion is read. This House no longer recognises the authority of the Prime Minister. The vote isn't close. At 8 p.m, Karma's motorcade leaves Downing Street, windows blacked out. Inside, faces pressed against glass. The gates close behind him. Britain doesn't celebrate. There's no cheering in the streets, no victory chants, just a collective exhale like a nation that's been holding its breath for a week finally lets it out. For the first time in over a century, the British people forced a government to fall without a single election, without parliamentary procedure, without permission. They simply refused to be governed by people who refused to listen. February 22nd, morning comes quiet. In Belfast, community volunteers paint murals over the burn marks from week one. In Derry, candles still burn on cobblestones for those injured in the riots. In London, Downing Street sits empty, waiting for whoever comes next. And across Britain, something has shifted. Not broken, shifted. The silence of power has become the voice of the people. Here's what matters more than anything else. This wasn't about immigration policy. This wasn't about left versus right. This wasn't even about asylum seekers. This was about a government that stopped listening and a people who stopped asking permission to